Welcome to Madison, Indiana, and round 2 of the 2003 Budweiser Unlimited Hydroplane Series presented by Boat Shopper Magazine. Everybody, I'm Chris McClure along with Steve Montgomery, and we have a whole host of issues burning here along the banks of the Ohio River, not the least of which is the U3, the Master Tire. The question is, can they back up that Evansville performance? Can they win a few more converts for piston power? Can they do it?
There is nobody here that needs to be converted. Madison, Indiana is the home of Ed Cooper Sr. His son, Ed Jr., lives in Evansville, where he's a school teacher, has a pretty nice shop out back for a school teacher. Everybody here absolutely believes their piston boat can do it again.
Issue number 2, Miss Budweiser. Last week at Evansville, they dropped a wheel just before the final. Didn't even get to run it. I don't know that that makes them any less a team. In fact, I know it doesn't, but it certainly embarrassed them.
Something like 7 years since the last mechanical failure of any kind in the Budweiser camp. It's an incredibly well-prepared team. They did have a disappointing weekend. It's unlikely that that'll happen again. It should be about 7 years before it happens again. Also, a disappointing weekend in Evansville for Nate Brown and Eric Elstrom and the Miss Elam Plus. You have 2 hot boats with a little something special to prove here this weekend.
Another issue, the river itself. Yesterday, during practice and qualifying, especially off turn number 1, the river jumped up. It was evil at times, beating boats around all the time. They're worried about that for today.
We had a problem. Our 10-boat field coming from Evansville was reduced to 9 when Greg Hopp and the U100 got airborne in turn 1 yesterday, Saturday morning, did a very violent flip, destroyed the left side of the boat, and took him out of the competition. You're looking at it here. It's what we call your basic apex blowover. The right side of the sponson, the right side of the boat comes up at the apex of the turn, lifts eventually the entire boat out of the water. Once the rudder and skid fin go, he's a passenger on a wild ride. I did have a word with Greg when he came back to the pits, thankfully in decent shape.
Yeah, the boat didn't like the waves down the river, I guess. You know, we're turning a good qualifying time and just went into the turn, turned the wheel a little bit, and the right sponson pops up, and then it popped up again, went even higher, and it just ended up upside down. It just picked up too high too quick, you know. And, it feels like you're on an elevator going to the top floor real quick, you know. It's just nothing you can do about it at that stage except for hope for the best.
Did you have a lot of wing in it?
Not as much wing as the boat had, you know.
So those are a few of the storylines that we're going to keep an eye on for you. The first set of heats comes up in just a moment. Heats 1A, 1B, and 1C. Stay tuned for that. The Budweiser Madison Regatta, supported by Belterra Casino, brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. Nothing beats a Bud. And by Boat Shopper Magazine. Visit us online at boatshow.com. In Heat 1A, the Bernie Little Memorial Heat by Clifty Engineering, the top qualifier. Miss Budweiser had the inside lane as he looked for his second heat victory of the new campaign. With U9, Bellows Pizza, Mike Hansen on the wheel. That was on his hip, and Steve David and Oh Boy Alberto coming up on the outside. All were good at the start as Villock in the Miss Budweiser showed her stripes early, stepping out high and fancy through the first couple of laps, opening at 146 miles an hour the first time through, following that at 143 the second lap around. That built an insurmountable lead for him. Bellows Pizza followed in step, second place all the way, while Steve David first tried the inside line, then swung wide trying to track him down from the outside to no avail. Bud easily home in first under the O'Doul's Eye in the Sky Helicam, with Bellows Pizza, the U9 in second, and Oh Boy Alberto in third. Now let's go to Steve at the dock.
You made it look easy, was it?
Well, we don't have much speed, so we had to just try to get an acceleration set up. On the inside, we had to run and, get through the inside and get in and out of the first turn, and that was really the race.
It was very rough yesterday in qualifying. Is it better now?
No, it never gets any better here, but the Budweiser crew set up the boat really well, so hopefully that works for us.
Good start.
Thanks.
Good solid second place here for Mike in the U9. Were you satisfied with that run? It's a long day.
I'd like to been a little bit closer to that red boat. He walked away pretty good, but we'll make some changes. We'll go back to some setups we had yesterday. I think maybe we can get ourselves a little bit closer to it.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Heat 1B was sponsored locally by Morgan Foods, and everything possible went wrong for Mark Evans in the Lumar window film. First of all, he was late leaving the dock, and that meant that when Evans got onto the backstretch, just over a minute remained before the start of the race. He decided to slow way down and try not to pass the score-up buoy before the 1 minute mark. He got the nose of the boat, about half a sponson past that buoy too early, and was penalized a lap. Now, at the start, the other two boats, Mitch Evans in the Master Tire and Terry Troxell in the Miss Trend West, jumped the gun. This meant that had Mark Evans not gotten in trouble a minute earlier, he would have been the leader. But it meant that everybody was penalized, everybody was equal, and Mitch Evans then made the rest of the story a non-story by cruising to a fairly easy victory in the Master Tire. However, for Terry Troxell and his brand new U2 Miss Trend West, easily the most impressive that brand new boat has looked so far. With everybody penalized, Mark Evans still finished a distant third, a disappointing start to his day in the Lumar window film. So the points scored in Heat 1B, 40 points for a first place for Mitch Evans in the U3 Master Tire. Second place, 30 points to Terry Troxell in the U2 Miss Trend West, and 23 points to Mark Evans in the U8 Lumar window film. Chris McClure met the winning Evans brother at his dock.
Well, they get you back after an extra lap. Was it just a fuel supply on board?
We got a little problem with the motor. I'm not sure what it was. Instead of taking a chance of hurting it, I just went ahead and shut it off.
Okay, well, tell me about the boat ride.
Pretty awesome. You know, the thing runs hard. Was kind of in the middle of the course and was able to just outrun the guys. What a machine. It's going to be great.
40 points, good start.
Yeah, that's the way to go. We got to get 40 more and 40 more. We'll be at the end.
The story of Heat 1C, sponsored by American Legion Post number 9, is the story of a rough river, perhaps like never before. 3 boats, U10, U16, and U25, were pitched in every direction possible from the first warm-up lap to the end. It was certainly uncomfortable. It was definitely dangerous, perhaps more than ever before. Mike Weber in Miss M-Corps nursed his mount home with the win and his precious 40 points, while Nate Brown weathered a terrific pounding on his way to second. Dr. Ken Muscatel's Mr. Home Loan stayed up and running as well for third place and 23 points. At the dock, the principals were a bit shaken by the experience.
I think I set an altitude record even for some of the stunts I've pulled in my day. I don't know where it all came from. It's been good all weekend on the backside other than a few holes off the turn, but boy, it's bumpy out there today.
Well, Nate Brown in second place, and I'll tell you what, that's a tough way to earn 30 points.
Well, was it 30 points? So I figured if I held my hand up like this, I'd get more points by keeping my hand off the steering wheel, you know? That's no fun out there, guys. I mean, we got boat problems big time, and we've run in rough water like that before, and we got something wrong. I mean, the water wasn't any good, but, you know, we're faster than that.
So after 3 rounds of competition, Heats 1A, B, and C, 3 boats are tied for the points lead, trying to qualify for the final with 40 points on our Budweiser scoreboard.
This is Pat Sullivan, the city manager of St. Clair, Michigan. Before the start of the season, 4 of our top teams put on an exhibition. I understand that your area is pretty excited about unlimited racing again because you had it a long time ago.
They are very excited, Steve, and we had over 10,000 people in our city, more on the Ontario side, on the Canadian side of the St. Clair River, that showed up on a Tuesday to watch these hydroplanes. They put on a fantastic show, and the people just loved it.
What are the chances that the rumors we are hearing about an actual event could become reality?
Well, there's no doubt that we want it, that we think we'd be an outstanding venue for the hydroplanes, but we're here learning how to put together an organization like this and how to make a race work. If we can do it, we will. It's something that we're working on very hard.
Heats 2A, 2B, and 2C are coming up in just a few moments, so stay right there.
Heat 2A, sponsored by the Belterra Casino just up the river. Some interesting events in this one as well. It was set to be a shootout for lanes, no lanes assigned. The participants were Dave Vilwalk in Miss Budweiser, Mitch Evans in the Master Tire, and Mike Weber in the U10 Miss M-Corps. With no lanes assigned, Mike Weber won the battle. He had the inside in the M-Corps, made a perfect start, as did Mitch Evans, way on the outside in the Master Tire. Vilwalk and the Budweiser appeared to be very late at the start and were a distant third as the boats headed up the backstretch for the first time. Eventually, Evans would put a big lead on the M Corps, then would have engine problems and settle into the water under the Milton Bridge. So the race at that point between the M Corps and the Budweiser and Dave Vilwalk would motor by the U10 in the red boat for the victory. Problems for Mitch Evans, a victory for Dave Vilwalk. Chris McClure met the winner at his dock.
Let's take it sequentially. The start, you got left to back there a little bit. What happened?
Well, I think that was a pretty questionable call, and the other guys were about a half a boat length over. They called it a good start, but they were about a half a boat length over, and so I backed off to let them go. Thought that the race was really over at that point, and but they said no, it was a good start. So then I had to sort of pick my way through, and luckily the U3 had some troubles, and that put us out front.
But you caught the U10, and you did that with both positioning and horsepower. That was a good boat race for a lap and a half there.
Yeah, we had to work around. I was hoping they'd, make a couple of mistakes there, and it worked out for us.
The Budweiser scoreboard for Heat 2A gives 40 points to Miss Budweiser and Dave Vilwalk, 30 points for another good strong run by Mike Weber in the U10 M Corps. Disappointing DNF, no points scored by Mitch Evans and the U3 Master Tire.
Heat 2B, the Larry Meter and Lewis Ford Memorial Heat, saw three boats that finished second in their earlier runs head-to-head for the first time today. Mike Hansen in U9 showed nice shoot speed at the start, trying to pick up ground from the outside, and by the exit pin of turn one was side-by-side with Trent West and Miss Elam Plus. The subsequent drag race down the straightaway went to Terry Troxel in U2, a show of speed and handling no one had ever seen from that brand new hull. He won the race to the second corner and every corner thereafter. U9 did catch up through the drag race eventually, regrouped enough to track down U16 and capture second in the heat. But the story of the day, at least so far, in its finest performance to date, U2 Trend West, who is now back on the bank.
Jim Harvey, your goal was to be competitive by the time you got out west to the Tri-Cities. Did you turn that up a little?
This team has not given up since we put the boat in the water for the first time in Evansville last week. And their work is showing up right now. It's beautiful.
I got a feeling this doesn't really surprise you.
No, we knew it was going to come. We just didn't know it was going to come this early. And Terry's done a hell of a job. And the Trend West is a boat that's going to be reckoned with before the end of the year. Got out. Personally, thanks every one of the guys who worked.
Terry Troxel, I have to say, a bit of a surprise winner. You got Mike Hansen, a Gold Cup winner. You got Nate Brown and the very quick Elam. Is it safe to say the new boat's ready?
Well, it's ready. We're still working on. It's still a little light. We got to work on that, and we got to work on the watches. They keep falling on the ground, and that's why it had a tragic start. But it all worked out.
Next, we'll go back in time for a popular feature of the Madison Regatta. Stay with us.
In any form of motorsports, heat is the enemy. It robs a machine of power. And it's no different in unlimited hydroplane racing, and that is the subject of our Boat Shoppers Magazine Inside Story. In boat racing, they use the most readily available coolant there is, the water in that river. And this is how they get it into the boat. A couple of tubes at the back. This one runs the speedometer. This intake brings in all the water you need to cool the boat and the motor. Where does it come from? Come on over here and I'll show you. It comes off the back of the rudder. They mount the tubes right there. The intake is down low and it comes up through the tubing into there. Speedometer, cooling. In the case of the U3, the piston-powered boat, that water cools the gearbox and the engine block. But what about the turbine? Well, that's a little bit different. Here's Steve.
The turbine engine used in hydroplane racing is air-cooled, just as it was in the Vietnam-era Chinook helicopter that it powered. The big scoop right behind the driver's head is where the air comes in. About a quarter of it is burned, about 3/4 of it is used to cool the engine. But when we go back and look at the rudder, we see the same two little tubes. A very small one that drives the speedometer in the driver's cockpit, and the larger one cools the gearbox. There is actually a little oil cooler mounted just ahead of the gearbox, and it is water cooled. So the same two tubes, slightly different function, same big job. Keep everything cool on the race boat. Three boats drawn into Heat 2C. They were the U8 Lumar window film, Mark Evans' brand new ride, the U6 Oh Boy Oberto, a locally owned boat here from Madison, Steve David the driver, and the U25 Mr. Home Loan Ken Muscatel. But once again, drama before the boats went onto the water. Something wrong aboard the Oh Boy Oberto. The local boat never did leave the dock, so it did not start for Steve David and the Oh Boy Oberto. That left Dr. Ken Muscatel and the U25 to race with Mark Evans and the U8 Lumar. That turned out about the way you thought it would. But in the end, an easy 40 points, and they needed them for Mark Evans and the Lumar window film team. Ken Muscatel, a hard-earned 30 points, second place. Did you know that you ran a lap right there quicker than any of your qualifying laps?
Really? No, I did not know that. That's nice to know. We made changes. We ran more this weekend than any other team. Looking for a combination, so we're starting to get there. I'm very happy. What do we run?
A 133 something.
That's nice. Something is good.
The weekend here in Madison has been a walk down memory lane. The vintage boats are here. The vintage fleet, surprisingly perhaps, is growing. Obviously, there aren't more old boats than there used to be, but more of them are being found, reconditioned, and put back in the water. So with the vintage fleet back safely on their trailers, we will return to Madison and Unlimited Heats 3A, 3B, and 3C right after this.
Welcome back to Madison, Indiana, and round 2 of the 2003 Budweiser Unlimited Hydroplane Series presented by Boat Shopper Magazine. Well, they're about to line them up for the third round of heats. There will be 2 races of 4 boats, and there are new issues on the dock that we have to catch up with. Let's go to Steve Montgomery.
One of our questions was, could the U3 put together 2 weekends in a row like the one in Evansville? So far, Ed, the answer is not quite, huh?
Well, we had a really nice combination here finally. We really struggled to get to that point, but and after we broke an engine in that last heat, and that kind of has taken us out for the weekend.
Heat 3A, sponsored by the Hoosier Lottery, was contentious and controversial from the start. The U2, Trent West, seemed to have the inside lane established for the start. He was washed down and suddenly sitting still on the water. U16, Nate Brown, and the Bud touched hulls, perhaps helping lead to the washdown of U2 in the first place. Well, Bud ran 5 laps instead of 4. Trent West got restarted and eventually was able to finish, but the question was, where? Miss Bud was asked to run an extra lap, apparently giving the win to U8, but only after Nate Brown's boat coasted to a stop after a couple of laps, while Troxel ran down the dock to have a heart-to-heart with Dave Vilwalk right after it was finished. And Steve Montgomery spoke with Evans.
Well, we had fast race boats, we had penalties, we had everything going on. Did you know all that was happening out there?
Well, Scott was talking away, telling me what was going on, but he's very good on the radio. I don't need very much information when I'm running. In fact, I don't want very much information when I was running. I'll just wait for the checker flag, but seemed like a bunch was going on. Troxel went dead out there, and damn, when we were going down the backstretch, I wasn't sure if Nate saw Terry or not, and it seemed like it was a close deal, but otherwise, good race.
Good news is it all puts you in the final, right where you want to be.
Yeah, we need to be. What happened to Bud?
He was penalized for hitting Terry, I understand, preliminarily at least.
Wow, so you mean we got first?
Yeah.
That's coming from you?
Yeah.
Right on, I like that part.
Well, there's a little confusion on the dock, but we'll try and sort it out here. Just what went on out there?
Well, Vilwalk pulled his own stupid tricks. You know, I had lane 1. You're supposed to establish your lane at the markup pin, which I did. And then about, a third of the way up to the corner, he just infringes in my lane, puts my fire out, and then goes back and thinks he's going to get away with it. You know, it's dirty, but it's Dave. You know, we're almost coming accustomed to it. But I had to, after the race was over, I had to go at least, tell him that I did understand how we're going to race the rest of the day.
So with the results of Heat 3A still a little unsettled, we put the field in the water for Heat 3B. It was to be a 4-boat field, but once again, the U6, Oh Boy Alberta, with problems. This time didn't even come off the trailer. Their day may be finished. They may be waiting for the consolation. 3 boats answered the gun. The U10, Mike Weber in the M Corps having a pretty good day. The U9, Mike Hansen, and the Bellows Pizza, and they were joined on the water by the U25, Dr. Ken Muscatel, in the Mr. Home Loan. Things appeared to go pretty much the way of the M Corps and Mike Weber. A good start, an early lead, and eventually what appeared to be a substantial lead over Mike Hansen and the U9. However, when Weber came into the inside in turn 2 and Hansen got into his rooster tail, the officials ruled, at least preliminarily, that he did not have the 7-boat overlap necessary. Mike Weber was penalized a lap. Hansen was awarded the victory, and the discussion was on once again. We talked to Mike Hansen, the apparent winner, who's with Chris McClure.
30, 30, 40. That's a good day's work leading into a final.
I think that'll put us in the final in the front row, and that was the whole key the whole day, was to get in the front row. 'Cause you can't win if you're in the back, so that gives us a shot.
Well, Mike Weber, it's your turn in the witness stand. Did you encroach?
I had 10 boat lengths, and I tell you what, it gets really frustrating because, you know, last year I got put upside down, no call. I got screwed in San Diego, no call. I had 10 boat lengths, there's no doubt in my mind. I saw it in my mirrors. I wouldn't have, there's no reason to come in if I didn't have the boat lengths because I had them covered. And it's just bull, that's all it is.
But there was more to the story. Right after we talked to what we thought was the winner, the penalty on Mike Weber was rescinded. That meant he got back 10 points, and that would be a very big factor because it put him, in fact, in the front row of the final. This is the Budweiser scoreboard with all preliminary heats completed except the consolation. The top 4 are in the front row of the final. The 5th place boat, which is now the U9 Bellows Pizza, becomes the first trailer. He'll be on the inside. One spot remaining in the final. It's in the second row in lane 2, and that will go to the winner of the consolation. Everybody who is not in the final already eligible to run for that spot, and we'll put the Connie in the Ohio River when we come back to Madison.
Welcome back to the Budweiser Madison Regatta. Now, a provisional heat had been scheduled to get the final entry into the final, but only 2 boats were invited to be in that. One couldn't answer the call. The other one did not have to run. That was the U25, the Mr. Home Loan of Dr. Ken Muscatel, and he moves into the final by virtue of that fact. So we add our congratulations to Dr. Ken Muscatel for making it into the final, but what about the rest of them and their tactics as they anticipate the start? Well, we moved through the pits just a few moments ago to get that information from each and every one.
So Mike Weber gets his points back. Those 10 points were big. They put you in the front row. I'm guessing you're a little happier than last time we talked to you.
Yeah, and anything I said in that last interview just cut right out of the tape, all right?
So what's the strategy now for a 4-boat final on a narrow race course?
Well, the good thing is fight for lanes. That's where I'm comfortable, and I'd like to be in 1 or 2. That's where I need to be to have a chance. And Vilwack's the guy to beat. There's no doubt about that. We'll see where he ends up and try and mess him up a little bit on the start and see what happens from there. I'd like to see me and my brother-in-law 1-2, though.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, when they changed the penalties back, of course, it cost Mike Hansen a good deal here. Now you have to trail on the inside. You won a race from there before, but it's pretty tough here.
Yeah, we did that in San Diego several years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, but we'll try it again, but it's going to be real tough here in Madison. But anything can happen in that first turn. This is a tough place to run, so we'll give it our best shot.
What sort of tactic do you bring down that front chute?
Basically, the first half lap, we're just going to go back there and let them go do their thing, because if I drive into a piled-up mess in the first turn, I'm just going to add to the problem. So we're going to play it a little safe going through the first turn, and then we'll try to chase them down the back straightaway.
Good luck to you.
All right, thanks.
Well, the good news for Mark Evans, once they sorted all the points out, rescinded all the penalties against everybody, well, not everybody, you were in the front row. Good job.
Thank you very much. We needed to be in there. We didn't want to run the extra race there to get into the final, so I'm glad things worked out how they did. So let's see what the Lumar can do and get in the winner's circle.
Well, now we've pretty much settled all the controversy from a little earlier on. You're in the front row. You're in a final. It's only the second week for the boat. Now what do you do?
Beat the river. That's the easy thing. I mean, you got to get through the first corner nice and clean, get out first, and put the thing to the floor.
You're a racer. It's R&D time for this boat. I think it's ahead of where you guys thought it might be, but it's time to race. Do you think win now?
Of course. We won a heat today, and we did a pretty good style, and the boats we beat were, you know, top caliber, not Budweiser, but top caliber. So, yeah, we got a good shot at it.
So the final preparations are underway. They'll begin lowering them all into the water in just a moment. The final heat is just ahead as we put 6 of the fastest race boats in the world into the Ohio and race for the Indiana Governor's Cup. It's 12.5 miles to glory up next.
Welcome back to the Budweiser Madison Regatta, supported by Belterra Casino. After a wild and woolly day on the Ohio River, Chris McClure, along with yours truly, Steve Montgomery, and we finally have the field set, Chris, for the final. It should be a dandy. We've been running 3 and 4 boats at a time. Now we're going to have 6 boats in the water, but not all in the front line.
We have 6 up and on plane now. The U1, the Budweiser, Dave Vilwalk out there on the back straightaway, bringing it up to full song. He's using the extended cowling, I guess they call it the seawater cowling, on this boat. This is the T6 boat. They ran the T5 on Friday, 2 days ago in testing, went to the 6, qualified the 6. It was the faster of the 2, and they've raced it here today. The U10, the M-Core with Mike Weber, gets in with 110 points on the day. He's had a brilliant afternoon, and he almost had a win taken away from him. He got it back when they reviewed the tapes and said that he had an overlap before he washed down the U9 Bellows Pizza, so he was legal. The Lumar is also up on plane, the U8 with Mark behind the wheel, Mark Evans. U2, Trend West, Terry Troxel is out there and on plane, and I think that is where a lot of the interest in this heat is centered after his performance in one of the heats earlier today. He was just lightning fast, and the boat was beautiful.
2 of the boats in the front row in your picture right there as they go under the bridge that runs between Madison, Indiana and Milton, Kentucky. On the inside, that is Terry Troxel, who really surprised us in his brand new U2 Trend West, running away from some boats we knew to be fast in a heat victory earlier. He could be a factor here. It's going to depend on his lane. The other boat that was with him going under the bridge was the yellow Lumar, also a very new boat, which Mark Evans has had a very good weekend with. However, as you heard in the interview just a moment ago, he does not feel he has the propeller he might need to run with this field. We'll see whether he was sandbagging us a little or that's really the case. There's Mark running down into the turn 1 end of the race course in typical Dave Vilwalk style. He has been curling a little partial laps through the infield. Now he's gone down to the end of the race course and is taking the head up the back straightaway right beside Mike Weber. That is Mark Evans in the Lumar, and there are Weber and Vilwalk on the back straight.
They're probably going to have to do another loop. We're coming up to the 1 minute mark, and they're going to slow way down. Lumar's going to get caught way out. Trend West is nearly stopped, but he's okay in terms of the score-up buoy. Now he's got to get it back up on plane. The U9 and the U25 are on the back straightaway. We're under a minute to go, and this field is all spread out down that straightaway. The Lumar now catching up, and by the time they get into turn number 2 on the eastern end under the bridge, they're probably going to be 4 wide plus 2 in positions where they need to be. It looked like Lumar might get caught way out, but he's catching up, and he's going to get where he wants to be. It would appear at least up with the front runners on that front row. He might not get the lane he wants from there, though.
Terry Troxel had parked the Trend West just ahead of the score-up buoy. He had lane 1, but he wasn't moving. That's his brother-in-law right beside him, Mike Weber, and he left him a lane in there, which was a key for Terry Troxel and could be a big factor in this race. Here they come now, 2,000 feet away from the start with the countdown underway in the cockpits and as well from the radio. Dave Vilwalk is out in lane 3, and Budweiser making a good start. If he's not too early, Troxel is going to wire it. 3, 2, 1. Mark. It looked like a legal start from here with Budweiser out ahead. It is a legal start. Oh, we have an accident.
We got Mike Weber went full over and landed on the bottom of the boat, and it continued. The wing is knocked ajar, as you see, but a full barrel roll in the air, and he came down on the bottom of the boat and continued in the same direction.
The red flares have fired. The race will be stopped, and we're going to have to restart this heat. But Mike Weber in a spectacular airborne 360. The boat did land right side up. We do not know anything more than that at this point. The rescue team is on its way to Mike Weber and the U10 M-Core, a spectacular 360 right in front of us. Everyone's heart stopping on the beach at once. The boats now will all shut down in position wherever they are on the race course until they're told they can return to the pit. So, Chris, we're going to have a stop down here while we sort things out. and get some help over to Mike Weber and his stricken craft. So let's take a break and come back to the Budweiser Madison Regatta, supported by Belterra Casino, after this. Welcome back to Madison, Indiana, where the final heat is stopped down, at least momentarily, due to the aerobatics of one Mike Weber and the U10M Corps. First of all, I hope you're feeling as good as you look.
Oh, actually, my back was hurting worse before. I think I might have straightened it out. No,
what happened, Mike?
Driver error. That's all it was. I was just a hair late on the start, and everybody pulled me a little bit, and I had the wing all the way in lift, just trying to catch up so I could get through the first turn with them. Caught a little bit of air and started to climb, and I tried to hit the down pedal, and it was just too late.
Rumor has it you still want to get back in the final. Is there a chance you can do that?
I don't think the rules allow it, but if they tell me we can go, we'll be there.
Well, now you know you can fly them and land them, huh?
I don't want to try that again.
Glad you're okay, though, buddy.
Thank you, Steve.
Just over a minute to go before we get this final heat underway, and the Miss Trendwest trying to queue up for the first lane has come to a stop on the back straightaway. He may have to get back up on plane. The rest of them come on by. We're under a minute to go, and they're not to the score-up buoy yet, so everybody is legal at the moment. Terry Troxel turning through the infield. Got the water.
He's out of it, Chris.
Yep.
You have to be on a plane and running at the 1 minute gun. Terry Troxel was not. He dropped down below ground idle, hoping he would not pass the score-up buoy before the 1 minute mark, and it cost him. I'm pretty sure that he will not be allowed to compete here. You have to be up and running on a plane at the 1 minute gun. He was not.
So he moves up the straightaway under power. The rest of them are in the turn 2 area and beginning to look back toward the start-finish line. There are still about 20 seconds to go or so until they are officially underway. The Budweiser down to the inside. Lumar is in the next lane out. Then we have Mike Hansen in the third lane, and Troxel is spun. He's going the opposite direction. Meantime, the front 3 boats are well before the line. They got plenty of time, and they're legal, and Lumar is first one there, and the U9 on the outside. Budweiser tucked in behind the Rooster Tails on the inside.
So 3 boats in the field into the first turn. Our O'Doul's eye in the sky shows you the field getting through the turn. It's the Budweiser on the inside in control. Dave Villwalk in lane 1. Mark Evans making a good run on him on the outside in the Lumar. The yellow boat is still there, right on the hip of the Budweiser as they go up the back straightaway.
Trendwest finally got it pointed in the right direction, and he's now on the clock into his first lap, but a full half lap behind, about 1.25 miles behind the Budweiser and the rest of them. The U9 on the outside storming up the straightaway. He runs third. On the outside is the Lumar, and the Budweiser now in the middle of the corner, carving a beautiful arc through the pins on that end of the course and headed back to home. He is straightening up and accelerating now with the Budweiser with the extra long cowling that they use. It's called the seawater cowling, but they've used it. It's on the T6, and he is just flying down the straightaway, drawing away a little bit from the Lumar. We'll get a speed on this first lap right about now. There he goes, 143.8 he opens with, and it marked in the U8 136.085.
For all the drama we've had this weekend here on the Ohio River at Madison, the drama probably went out of our final heat once Dave Villwalk established lane 1 and made a good start. The chances of anybody catching him, Chris, at this point are slim. It's likely that the boats will keep running now for another 3.5 laps, and unless the Budweiser team experiences their second mechanical failure in the last 8 years, they're going to win the Madison Regatta here.
Showing us the bottom of his boat on the back straightaway, the Bellows Pizza, the U9 of Mike Hansen, getting a little bit of a rough ride down there, but he is straightening it out and headed toward the bridge. Meantime, at the far eastern end, and you see it, a little sponson action there as he picks up a hole, but Budweiser settles down, and off the corner he comes in just a few moments as he sails beautifully across the water. We'll get his speed for this lap.
Coming down to complete lap 2, Dave Villwalk and Miss Budweiser walking a little sponson to sponson, approaching about 200 miles per hour on this very long straightaway as he heads down into turn 1 one more time. Mark Evans and Mike Hansen back here in a little bit of a boat race for second and third. You're looking at Mark Evans running in second comfortably, flying the right sponson a little bit as he sets it up for turn 1, and he's pursued into that turn by Mike Hansen in the U9 Bellows Pizza.
Lumar 126, Hansen 127, so Hansen gaining a little ground, and in the mid 130 mile an hour range that trip through was the Miss Budweiser. Meantime, on the front straightaway, we have a boat race for 4th place as the Trend West has gotten past the U-25 into the 4th position in this event, and he's at the line having completed a couple of laps, and he sails across the line, got those sponsons way up in the air. That lap for Terry Troxel at 121.382, so he got it squared away, but now he's just running out the laps. He's way too far to challenge for any significant position or the podium at this point.
And he may have been disqualified before the start. Right. He dropped off the plane and did not get it up and going at the 1 minute mark. That might have been his boat race right there. We have seen a lot of flying boats this weekend, Chris, and as Terry Troxel came by, he was flying that boat again. Now you're looking at the boats on the backstretch. That is Mike Hansen, currently our 3rd place runner on the water, coming down the front straightaway to finish lap 3. Mike Hansen, his local sponsor, up here with us, been bringing us pizza all weekend, which we appreciate. He'll take it down into turn 1 as the Budweiser is on the back straightaway, running easily out front, about 4 rooster tails ahead of Mark Evans in 2nd place in the Lumar.
Budweiser last trip around nice and steady at 136 miles an hour. 3.5 laps are now behind him of the scheduled 5 in this final heat here at Madison. Last week, they were embarrassed. They lost the propeller before they could start the final. This week, they have had this course wired, and they have gone as fast as they needed to go at almost every turn, and this is no exception now as he straightens it up down the front straightaway. And not too far from now, he may lap the U-25. Here comes Dave Vilwalk one more time to complete lap number 4. We'll give you the speed report as he cracks across the lights, 131.503. So he dials it back a little bit, but he's comfortably in front and cruising now.
The white flag for Dave Vilwalk and the Budweiser. He'll be way down at the apex of turn 1 when the 2nd place boat comes by. That's Mark Evans in Bill Wurster's brand new Lumar. A 2nd place finish they're going to be happy with, but they actually felt they probably didn't have the propeller to run with the hot dogs here this weekend. And the word was, when we get out west, Chris, and get our prop that we think will work out there, this boat could very well be a contender. 2nd place won't be bad, but the boat you're looking at right there, the red one, is going to win it unless something goes wrong. Then you had a glimpse of Mark Evans in the Lumar. He's well back. Now we're going to get some lapping going on, because the doctor, Ken Muscatel, we believe, is probably the 4th place boat on the water, if indeed Terry Troxel was set down before the start. He's about to be lapped by the leader as they come under the Milton-Madison Bridge here over the Ohio River.
Swinging wide off that final turn is the Miss Budweiser. He's got clear water all the way down the straightaway with Ken Muscatel to his left in the inside. The Budweiser may not catch him before the stripe. Muscatel takes the white flag. There goes the checkered flag for the Miss Budweiser, the winner of the 2003 Indiana Governor's Cup. We look back upriver. The Lumar is on the straight. A couple hundred yards to go for him, and he'll have 2nd place put away. Sponson to sponson he is as Mark Evans moves it through and picks up 2nd spot. And here comes Hansen in the Bellows Pizza boat. 3rd place belongs to him. A nice solid ride all day. Closes with a 120 mile an hour lap.
So, after a very dramatic weekend, Chris, our final heat, a little bit of a parade here at the Budweiser Madison Regatta.
Trend West storming down the front straightaway. Let's see what they do with the flags on the U2 boat. They leave the checkered up for him, so he goes under it and completes the 5th lap of the event. And coming off the final corner, the U-25, Dr. Ken Muscatel, will see him come down the straightaway and report home, and we expect the checkered flag to fly for him, and we'll get the final results officially in just a couple of moments. Meantime, the Budweiser is off turn 2, headed toward the pit in a very happy crew. Joe Little and all of his compadres down there set to welcome Dave Vilwalk back to the dock, victorious for the first time in this new campaign after a disaster of sorts at Evansville. They right the ship, bring it to Madison, and they were very, very strong, very, very focused, extremely dedicated throughout this weekend. And the beautiful red U1 Miss Budweiser, with Dave Vilwalk at the wheel, is the winner. We'll be back. We'll go down to the dock to talk to all of them in just a moment. We'll be right back. The Budweiser Madison Regatta, supported by Belterra Casino, has been brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. Nothing beats a Bud. And by Boat Shopper Magazine. Visit us online at boatshow.com. Well, after a long and hard-fought day of racing on the Ohio, we have our winner in Madison. Let's go to the dock with Steve Montgomery and Dave Villwalk.
Good job. Good job. First of all, the first win for Joe Little, owner of the Budweiser racing team. How does that sound?
It sounds great. It feels great. Tough race today. The water, is, as you know, is rough. Things happening. You can tell by the boats down here getting beat up. Dave and the Bud crew did a great job just to get through the river, get through all the rough water, and give us a win. So it feels fantastic.
I can guess who this one's for, huh?
Oh, you know exactly who it's for. It's for my dad.
David, pretty dramatic weekend, the final heat, a little bit of a parade, but I'm sure that's okay with you after what happened last week.
I don't know from where you're sitting, maybe. It was pretty rough and pretty tough. Mark Evans made a great start. Actually Terry Troxel and Weber made a great start the first heat. But they made it tough on us. We tried as hard. We wanted to win this for Bernie. If we were to win anywhere this year, Bernie would like to have us win here. This is one of his favorite places. So it's one of the toughest places to win anywhere. It may not be the biggest or most flamboyant, but it is definitely the toughest race to make the final, let alone win the final here.
All right, he says. All right, he says. I think a week ago we found you watching a final from the dock. Now you're in second place.
Yeah, that works out great, man. We're accumulating some points here, and but let me tell you, folks, this is a brutal river. That might have looked smooth sometimes, but that is so tough. But thanks to Lumar, all my sponsors, and Sickens Paint, my wife, of course, she just supports me all the way. Great crew I got, great boat and Lumar and Bill Wooster, so I'm very happy.
Congratulations for sticking with it. You turned it around in a week, and that's nice.
Yeah, that's that persistence, and Dad taught us that years ago. Stay persistent and never say die. So,
see you again.
Thank you much.
So we have two events on the 2003 Budweiser Unlimited Hydroplane Tour in the book, and this is the way the O'Doul's National High Point standings look after two events. Moving ahead, the fleet packs up and heads for the Pacific Northwest. The race in the Tri-Cities, Washington, followed by the Seafair GM Cup in Seattle. Then it's back to Detroit for the Gold Cup, and the season closes in September in San Diego.
So round two of the 2003 Unlimited Hydroplane season provides about what we had expected. Perhaps the surprise today was that the U3, the master tire with Mitch Evans, was unable to compete longer, but they just had bad luck with engines and ran out of power plants and weren't able to stay with the heats and make their way into the final. But mark my words, they will be back. And Steve, I don't think anybody's really surprised that they got their bit in the teeth and Budweiser did what they did today.
The Budweiser team had the most disappointing weekend we can remember in a long time. As we said at the Open, 7 years since their last mechanical failure. Evansville, not the way they want to leave a race site. This is more like it. They simply went to work, went about their business, won the boat race, mission accomplished.
It's true that the Budweiser is still the fastest boat out there. They're still the best financed team, and they are the team to catch. But with 4 races to go yet in this season, there are a lot of boats down there loading up right now that can still win boat races. This is a fast collection. It's not a big collection, but it's a fast collection, and I think that bodes well for the rest of the year.
Including Mark Evans, who says, just wait till I get home and get that new propeller on my yellow boat. He looked pretty good.
He did indeed. Thanks for joining us here in Madison. It's been our pleasure to bring you all the action through this hot and steamy day. And remember to join us down the road for Tri-Cities. Until then, so long from Madison, Indiana.